like first year out of university, they're already securing a job, they're securing a house or an apartment, and you're securing your room in your parents' house. Guys, nowhere in my life have I ever thought I will own a G-Wagon, but because it was popular and it looked good on these Pinterest pictures and on Instagram, I was like, maybe I want a G-Wagon. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Unfiltered Conversations. I am your host V, and to be honest, I am extremely excited. Yes, we are in a different venue, but nonetheless, the conversation is still gonna be good. It's gonna always be a good time. So we will be back in our usual place next time. I don't want to say next week, next month. But for now, I just wanted to look very intellectual and have the books behind me and, So today's episode is about FOMO. Like, if you don't know what FOMO is, I'm going to educate you a little bit. FOMO is the fear of missing out, right? And I wanted to actually have a conversation on how that affects our lives as Christians, because if we're going to be real, not even as Christians, as people, if we're going to be real in today's day and age, FOMO plays a huge role in a lot of the times people's mental state. Let's just get into it, okay? What is FOMO? We already got into it. Stands for the fear of missing out, but I went into the Oxford Dictionary to get the actual meaning of it because I'm a word person. I like to know what words mean. So I'm just gonna give y'all what it says. It says anxiety that an exciting or interesting event may be currently happening elsewhere, often aroused by posts seen on social media. So it's like the feeling of you feel anxious, I think the biggest word is anxious when you're experiencing FOMO, right? And social media is the biggest contributing factor on the FOMO experience, or the feeling of FOMO and anxiety and all of these things, because FOMO links to you. When you have FOMO, you have anxiety. And a lot of the times we hear on social media, people are like, oh, I have anxiety and I have anxiety. And a lot of the times, cool, yes, we're not supposed to speak certain things, but it doesn't hide, or it doesn't negate the fact, or it doesn't, I don't know if negate is the actual word, but it doesn't really erase the fact that you are experiencing the feeling of anxiety, right? And the things that we think when we're anxious are like, okay, I'm not doing enough in life, I should be further in life. Why is this person doing A, B, and C and I'm not doing A, B, and C? Or why does this person that I used to like, the biggest one, if we are being 100% real, is when you see people that are your peers and you went to high school with, it seems like their lives have started and it feels like yours hasn't. I remember immediately after high school, my best friend and I, we both took gap years directly after high school, right? We didn't go to university immediately. And we were once sharing that, oh my gosh, I see people going to uni. I see people even post like them complaining about a lecturer or like something. And we were talking about how it made us feel in that moment, in that season. Like it felt like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm doing nothing. But even though in my life, personally, I'm taking it back to me, at that stage, I hadn't found where I was supposed to go yet. So for me, it was like, only later, after realizing that I needed to stay off of certain social media or certain people's pages because it made me feel bad, I realized that if I went to school, I would be miserable. If I went to school, I'd be going to a school that I'm not supposed to go to. If I went to uni, I would be doing something that I'm not supposed to be doing. So I shouldn't feel bad that is not the season that I'm supposed to be in that moment, right? And when you grow older, not that I am that old, but when you grow older and you move from university, like the next stage of life is, oh my gosh, a job. Certain people have such great jobs and they're already buying cars. Like first year out of university, they're already securing a job, they're securing a house or an apartment, they're securing a car, and you're securing your room in your parents' house. Like, let's be real and talk about how real that is. And yeah, that contributes to how you feel, right? All these questions contribute to us undervaluing ourselves, being anxious, undermining ourselves, and not seeing ourselves in the light that God wants, or even seeing that God has a different type of journey for us, right? But why do we why do we have to make sure that we don't have FOMO, right? The biggest reason I think is FOMO is part and parcel of comparison, right? Those two ideas link. If you're experiencing FOMO, it's because you're comparing yourself to somebody else. And we all know the saying that comparison is the thief of joy, right? Is it joy? Yes, comparison is the thief of joy. And I didn't realize how true that was until later on. Like when we're in high school, guys, here's the thing. When we're in high school, we all feel like we're in the same level. Chances of you finding a high school kid who's thinking beyond high school or doing more than you are kind of slim. Like, let's be real. Like finding a high schooler that is already a business owner that has already 6 figures is extremely tongue twister, extremely rare, right? So you all feel like you're in the same space. You all feel like you're in the same stage in life, and it doesn't feel like anybody really is doing better than you until after that, when you start going to your varsity, when you start going to your workplace. Even in the workplace, there is a certain level of FOMO when you see that another one that I've heard of, I haven't experienced obviously, but a lot of people who choose to have a lot more kids versus people who are just a couple that is married, how their life would look, where they would be driving the more luxurious cars and having the most newest iPhones and tablets and MacBooks and all of those things. Those two different people, that's what those people are experiencing. The one with the family would feel like, oh my gosh, I'm still driving I don't want to name drop cars. I'm still driving this car, whereas my coworker is driving a G-Wagon. Like that also, like that's how you would feel it also in the working world. So I think the biggest thing, or the biggest reason we need to stay away from that, is because it steals our joy. And the biggest thing is also, it makes you forget the fact that you are already living in an answered prayer. A lot of the times we pray for stuff, and then because of FOMO, we forget that I prayed for where I'm at 5 years ago or 4 years ago. And you're not even able to be grateful for the blessing that God has given you currently. You're not able to appreciate it and see that your life is a whole different journey. Like, you know how people say we are not in the same chapter. When it comes to life, I don't even think you're supposed to be in the same chapter as the next person. You're supposed to be a different book altogether. So if their book chapter 12 means them having a car at chapter 12, and your book is that you having the same car or even better car in chapter 35, unfortunately we're not reading the same book, and we need to understand that. And also we need to realize that even our life's journey has a testimony that, or is a testimony for somebody else to be encouraged to rely on God more. For example, I think recently I started seeing in my life that there's a song. What's the song? I forgot what's the song. But I recently started looking at life in a different perspective of, you know what? I don't get it. I don't get it right now. I genuinely don't get it. Lord, you might need to explain it to me, please, because I don't understand. But my life and my testimony is going to be encouraging somebody else. And a lot of the times we think that we have to go through the struggle of being poor and looking for food in the trash for us to think that our testimony is valid. And it's not always the case. I think that for the longest time in my life, because I didn't grow up necessarily disadvantaged or less fortunate, I always used to tell God, I don't know what my testimony will be. Like, what about my life will be a testimony worth telling? I remember saying that at a very young age. I think I was probably in grade 8 or grade 9. I was like, I didn't go through having to travel, walk to church, like to school. I didn't struggle the way a lot of people have struggled. So what is the purpose of my life if your testimony is supposed to help somebody else? But I remember telling somebody else this, and I was like, every single testimony is important and is valid because it reaches people at certain stages of their lives. The other reason why we should try not to have FOMO is because I think FOMO contributes to us being angry at God for not getting things, right? We've spoken about being in God's will and 1, 2, 3. Like, this is a song that we'll continue to sing about being in alignment with God's will for your life, right? But I realized this with my personal experience. I feel like social media has created a space. Again, when I refer to social media, I refer also to, I'm linking it to also the idea of FOMO. Social media has created a space where we start to want things because we see things on social media. This is something I realized like 3 years ago, and I was like, Lord, do I actually want this, or do I want it because everyone is doing it or is buying it? Or, like an example I'll use is, guys, have you guys not noticed how traveling is such a trend now? Is it just me? Because all of a sudden everybody wants to travel. And I'm not saying we shouldn't travel. Just hear me out. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is a lot of people who didn't have the desire to travel at all, they love their country. They want to stay in their country. They don't even, not that they don't care, but they're just like, I'm happy where I'm at. I'm content with the life that I'm. And also, a lot of the times we think being content is a bad, negative thing. But let me come back to my point. But we start to want things because of other people. The example that I'm giving, traveling. Guys, everybody wants to travel. And I'm just like, is this something that you've always wanted? Or is it something that you're picking up because... And with me, for example, I've always wanted to travel. And sometimes I'm like, I'm even scared, not even scared. Scared is the wrong word. I don't want to say that I want to travel because everybody's saying it. And it's like, it's going to look like we all just doing the same thing. But with me, my love and passion for traveling stemmed from the fact that my parents lived very early in their marriage. Like, they got married and they lived in Europe, and they were going to different countries and exploring different cultures and living with different kinds of people, So me as a kid looking through the photo album and seeing the beautiful countries that they went to, that's where my desire started to want to travel. Not because I saw some social media posts. And I think a lot of the times we think that we want certain things. Like, another thing that I thought I wanted, but I just saw a lot of on social media, a G-Wagon. Guys, nowhere in my life have I ever thought I will own a G-Wagon or a Mercedes-Benz of some sort. But because it was popular and it looked good on these Pinterest pictures and on Instagram, I was like, maybe I want a G-Wagon. And I'm not saying it's wrong to want a G-Wagon. All I'm saying is we have become what society is putting out as the thing to do or to have. Another important thing that I wanted to say is, I think because everyone on social media displays a perfect life, we forget that it's very unrealistic, right? Everything that is on social media, maybe not unrealistic. I do think certain things are realistic, but I do think we don't see the process of how the person got to that point. So we see, for example, relationships, right? Women, I'll use an example that is applicable to me. A lot of the times I will see women in relationships where they are traveling with their partner and their partner is able to afford like taking them overseas and planning this whole itinerary. Like it's great content to consume, but sometimes it will make me feel like I've been wanting this since childhood. I've been wanting to travel with my partner since I was a kid, like my parents did, right? And I'm not experiencing that yet. But then you go deeper into finding out how these people, or the compromises, or even, yeah, the compromises that some people had to make for whatever you are seeing on social media. And that makes you realize that, you know what? I'd rather have this right now in my chapter 12 and wait for my chapter 35, where my chapter 35 will be me traveling, for example, with my partner. Because I don't want to share too much, but I knew of this person, or I know of this person who on social media, like it seems picture perfect relationship. The partner is rich and it's great, but knowing how they have to compromise their sense of freedom and individuality, that the partner needs to, yeah, the partner just has control over the woman. And to me, my freedom is very important as a woman, as a strong woman. Like, not even a strong woman, I'm just such a, I'm a type of woman. So knowing that I would have to compromise that part of myself in order to travel, for me is like, it's not worth it. I'd rather wait for when God appoints for me to be in that space in my life with my partner, if that makes sense. So we need to also remember that we don't get the full picture. We see the end result. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors. A lot of the times we even later find out that people were in abusive relationships, as much as they posted content of them traveling with this loving partner, So that's another thing that we need to remember. But ways that we need to, or things that we can do to equip ourselves. I wrote a list down and I'll elaborate, right? I think the first thing that we need to realize is, before we even start applying certain things, is actually come to terms with the fact that we are influenced, whether you like it or not, whether you think that you are or you're not. You either influence in a great way or not. And I think that's why there's a thin line between FOMO and inspiration, right? Someone inspiring you to be a better version of yourself versus someone you experience FOMO because of what they have, and that's what you want. But anyway, things to prevent FOMO. I think the biggest thing for me, having community, and I've recently started doing this. I will see videos of people going to, oh girl, we're gonna be real now. I'll see videos of people going partying every weekend with their friends, and I will experience FOMO because of that. But I had to come to God and ask God, am I experiencing FOMO because of the partying, or am I experiencing FOMO because of the community? And he helped me realize that, girl, you don't like partying. Like, we both know you don't like partying. Like, even when you were rebelling, you hated partying. Like, let's be real, right? I think the root is the fact that you are experiencing FOMO because of your lack of community, and you don't have community. And the community that people that you are seeing have, they're all going to do something fun together, in their world, basically. And I had to start I got my own community. And ever since I got my own community, I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. Like, we do our own stuff that is fun, that I like doing, So I think find your own community is a very important one. Second one is, since social media is the biggest contributor, since social media is the biggest contributor of FOMO, I would unfollow the people that make me feel like I'm experiencing FOMO. Truthfully, don't feel bad for pressing unfollow. Like, I always tell people, like, it's not that deep. And even if they feel some type of way for you unfollowing them, like it's just like it's part of life. In life, you'll get unfollowed. Things happen in life. So we can't rely on that. Like, we can't make following people or being followed by people our whole identity or personality or say anything about us, if that makes sense. So I would unfollow people that make me feel FOMO or experience FOMO. And again, it's not their fault, but it's just for your own sanity and peace of mind, right? Another one that's linked to that, going on social media fast. Guys, the moment I implemented social media fast, I was experiencing a whole new level of peace because I was not always consuming content that would make me feel better about where I am in life. I realized that I would, as much as, because for example, you will follow people because they inspire you. But the more you consume how great their life is portrayed, the more you feel bad about yours. So taking that necessary break, is so important. The last one is, I think we should constantly remind ourselves of the rewards that await us after this life. Because when you look at what awaits us in future for eternity, you start to put things in perspective that, you know what, Lord, I can live without X, Y, and Z here because I will live better with you, if that makes sense. So sometimes when I don't understand or when I want to do stuff that when I want to do stuff that I shouldn't be doing, I think I remember that. I remember that, you know what? I need to be faithful. I need to be righteous. I think the biggest thing is be righteous for me is being in right standing with Christ, with God. And that is important to me. So constantly telling myself, you know what? Cool. It sucks. It's going to suck for 2 minutes. It's going to suck for 2 days. But the feeling of being rewarded by God for your faithfulness on earth is a whole different experience that I really want to experience, you know. It's the same as how a person would be a business owner and they don't have funds or they don't have capital from investors to fund their business, right? But they have to fund the business by themselves. They will literally make sacrifices for the bigger picture. Those sacrifices look like, you know what, I can't go out every weekend. I can't eat out every weekend. I need to always eat at home and buy groceries. I can't always travel because the travel money I'm using towards my business. But they do that with the intention or with the understanding that, you know what, one day this business will flourish and I will reap the benefits I'll reap what I sow, right? And I think we need to think like that so that we feel more at peace with the fact that life is the way it is, if that makes sense. But anyway, guys, I don't want to talk too long because I'm alone. But thank you guys so much for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. And I hope this has helped you a little bit as we navigating this life together. The only manual we have is God's word, you know. So let us continue reading it. Let us continue seeking him and trying to understand what he wants for us and have him help us to be more at peace with where we're at. And let's just be grateful for where we're at, because today compared to 3 years ago, you start to understand God's grace. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. Like, share, subscribe. And if you're not subscribed, like Kalita says, this is the second time I'm quoting her. You're rude. But anyway, guys, I will catch you in the next video. Bye, guys.